But let me ask the $50 million question. And Buck, I'll put you on the hot seat first. If you had to pick which conference Carolina ended up in whatever world we're living in weeks, months, years, which one would you prefer personally? And then which one do you think would be the choice logically?
The answer number one is first train smoking out of the ACC is the one I would be on.
That's great.
The second question is, I used to would make the argument that, and I think I've argued both sides of this question multiple times to myself internally. The SEC kind of, sort of seems like a more of a cultural fit for North Carolina. Travel away, probably Baton Rouge in November is a little bit more pleasant than Wisconsin in November, and more suitable for UNC fans travel wise. And those things come into play. That would be a couple of the factors people would look at as far as the SEC goes. But, I'm kind of the opinion that, college football fans are college football fans. And every university that, plays at the Power 5 level, or anywhere else actually, has a segment of fans, I wouldn't let them on my yard, much less let them in my house. So, there's that for every school. So you're going to have to put up with that wherever you go. And I don't know that the worst fans of the SEC are any worse than the worst fans of the Big Ten. Maybe, I don't know. But it's academically, obviously you would prefer, from an academic standpoint, you prefer the Big Ten. But, at this point, North Carolina, if they ever do, however this plays out, they get around the grant of rights, things are moving, blah, 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 blah. If they get two offers, one offer is going to be better than the other. It's going to offer some sort of perk, some sort of benefit, some sort of advantage over the other conference. And I think you look at that contractually and make a decision. From a football perspective, strictly, the Big Ten, I think, would be a better place to be, because I think North Carolina would spend a lot of years, just like South Carolina spent, being humbled in the SEC. And hurts me to say that, but I believe that to be true. So you're willing to go through that? That's a big price to pay.
That segment right there is going to be highlighted when this podcast is all said and done. So Greg, you got a lot to live up to on your last words. Preferred personally, what you think logically, and if you can answer it as well as Buck, you're doing a lot, because I don't know if the last train smoking or the first train smoking has too many seats on it. What's up?
Yeah, so I'll take it in a different direction, Tommy. I agree with Buck. I think we're kind of guessing right now, and I think you have to take into account the cultural aspect, but money is going to rule the day, and I think whichever is the best offer. And if you've got to placate some of the academics, then maybe the Big Ten is the obvious answer. But we won't know until we hear some of the numbers. I will say this though, I mentioned it earlier. I think this is a two-part deal. I think right now the SEC and Big Ten are consolidating power. I hope there are some forward-thinking people making these decisions, because when all the TV deals are ready to be blown up and the NCAA is removed from the picture, hopefully by 2026, 27, I hope they scrap the ideas of conferences altogether. I think there is an opportunity to say, hey, we've got 40 athletic departments that are the best in the country, 48 if you want to go, making an even fair number. And these are the programs from a football perspective that are going to be not the minor leagues, but essentially the minor leagues of football. And if you do that, you can really configure scheduling, you can configure divisions in a sensible manner so that you have some of those old SEC, ACC Mid-Atlantic ties, the Big Ten Upper Midwest ties, where a lot of those teams are playing one another, not too dissimilar from what the NFL does. But you can have them in different divisions and you can play them in ways that make sense, that funnel into a playoff. If you've got 6 divisions across the country, you got a 12-team playoff or a 16-team playoff, it makes sense. You take the 2 best teams out of those divisions, there you go. And it's simple. But as we've learned, and Buck's talked about this a lot over the years, we've discussed it, the bowl system needs to be blown up. And this needed to have been blown up years ago. But we have clung to the bowl system and it's archaic. It makes no sense. I mean, teams don't even want to go. Players don't even want to go to these things. Fans don't even show up anymore unless it's the big ones.
Well, so when they meant something, there was only 18 of them.
Correct. Right. And so we're past it, but yet we're still dealing with it. So do they carry that mindset forward of, well, we've had the SEC forever. We've got to continue that pride and go ACC, go SEC and all that stuff. Hopefully they're smart enough to move past that. And they just come up with a brand new plan, a brand new system, how to envision college football. And I think there's a great opportunity there. And I know that kind of gets away from your question, but Buck answered the previous one so well. I think that's the next step is once Carolina gets to a different conference, which I think is the move to make, then 5 years down the road, you really be a pace setter, really kind of plan out how this should look. So that's better for fans moving forward.